everyone. Oh, now I forgot what I was going to say. Yes. And I'm the experienced one. Oh my God. Welcome to this session about mentoring, which I'm actually super keen to learn a few things about. This is Donna's first talk, so please give Donna a warm welcome.
Sorry, there we go. Mentoring is powerful. It's incredibly rewarding to watch people learn and grow. And you never forget the look on somebody's face when they fall in love with programming for the first time. And sometimes people love programming so much that they decide to change their careers and become software engineers. My name is Donna, and this talk is for anybody who wants to be a brilliant mentor. And in this talk, I'm going to cover some of the strategies from my own experience and also from other mentors in our community. And these will be strategies that you can immediately action in your next workshop. At the moment, I'm a mentor at CodeBar Sydney, which is a free coding workshop that tries to improve the diversity in technology. And we meet every first Tuesday of the month if you're interested in joining us here in Sydney. I was also previously the coordinator of CodeBar in Berlin, and I've also mentored at Django Girls and Rails Girls events. Now, to me, mentoring is helping somebody get better, simply that. And today I'm going to be focusing on the type of face-to-face mentoring that you would find at a workshop like CodeBar. If you haven't been to a workshop yet, that's all right. What usually happens in one of these workshops is a mentor is assigned one or a few students. The student might bring in a tutorial that they've already decided they like to work on, or sometimes the student brings in a project that they've already started working on. And your role as the mentor is to guide that student along in the workshop and also answer any of the questions that they might have. And during this talk, let's imagine that we're all mentors in a CodeBar workshop. And you've all been assigned a student that is learning to code for the very first time today. So it's a pretty big deal. And your student has decided to start an introduction to coding tutorial. And luckily, it's in Python. Now, the student, super keen, starts looking through the tutorial and comes across a word that they haven't seen before. And this is now your turn to participate in this talk. So, I have a little prize. I have a little chocolate bar. It's my favorite chocolate bar. For the first person that can answer the question, what is a variable? But there is a small catch, because this is a very nice chocolate bar. The small catch is our student, in our scenario, is learning to code for the very first time. And I've got some helpers also here. Our student is learning to code for the very first time. And that means we can't use any technical words when we're explaining what a variable is. Now, you might be wondering, what do I mean by a technical word? And I'm glad you asked, because I mean these ones. So, can somebody explain to me what is a variable without using any of those words on my slide? Oh, we have one.
A variable is like a drawer in a wardrobe where you place things to keep them for later use.
Oh. Was everybody listening to that? Were there any words that were... Oh, we already have a chocolate bar winner then. But yeah. Awesome. Oh, wow, this audience is very good. Usually I don't get an answer. By the way, did anybody else want to go? I mean, yes, there are 10 pieces of chocolate in this. If you would, if the winner would be keen to share. Anybody else wanted to have a go at that one? All right, moving along. So the student, and come see me later to win your prize. So the student really loved that explanation. That's awesome. They know what drawers are, and it clicked for them. And they go through the rest of the tutorial, and now they have another question. They've got, there are two things that look kind of the same, but what is the difference between print and return? And if you were disappointed that you got beaten to the variable chocolate bar, I've got a second chocolate bar for you to win. So the student would like to know, what is the difference between print and return? But again, it's still the student's first day learning to code ever, so you can't use any of those words, including prints and returns. I saw while I was researching for this talk, I was looking at Stack Overflow answers, and one of them, to answer this question, said, print prints and return returns. Read the docs. and yeah, okay. So that's on my banned list. Does anybody want to give that question a crack? There is a very nice 70% coca bar in it for you. Yep.
So print will show you whatever you put in there, whereas return will give it back to you.
Oh.
That's the best I got.
Oh, that's very nice. Would anybody else like to? Oh, yeah. We've got a second. Oh, sorry. 3. Yeah.
Sorry?
Let's hear them.
Print is like giving you a photograph of a thing, and return is giving you the thing.
Oh, wow. They're really good. That's a really good one. I'm going to borrow that one next.
Print gives it back to you, the person, whereas return gives it back to the program.
Oh, okay. They are really good. Huh? Oh. Sorry. So were there any other?
We have one more?
Yep.
Print is like going to a library and reading a book, and return is like taking it home.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is great because now I can use all these responses in my next workshop. If all of you could come and see me afterwards, and we can share the chocolate bar later. Oh, well, this is a very advanced group I'm speaking to. Lots of responses. Thank you. All right, so as mentors, we help students that are at every level. Some of them are learning to code for the first time, and others have been coding for a little while. So we need to adjust our language so that we can be understood. I know it's challenging to maybe look at those almost 50 words I put on my slides and try to not use them when you're answering these questions. And I feel that too, because jargon's really useful. In my job, jargon makes it easier for me to explain concepts to my colleagues, and it makes my explanations more precise. So it's no wonder that I'm sure we all feel this, that we find jargon so useful, we start thinking in terms of jargon. But unfortunately, our student is incredibly intelligent, but they just don't know all of the jargon just yet. And on my slides, I showed you about 50 words that you can't say, but there's a bit more than 50 words left in the English language. So build on the ideas that the student already understands. The student already knows what a drawer is, for example, or the student knows what a photograph is. You can use something they already know to explain a new technical concept. And I know that that temptation to say print prints and return returns, just like our poor friend on Stack Overflow, I feel that all the time. So I have to tell myself all the time to adjust my language and make sure that I can be understood by my student. All right, so in our scenario, our student was very excited to learn to code for the very first time. And they were pretty keen on starting with an introduction to coding tutorial in Python. But how did we know that? So we need to find out. At the beginning of the workshop, I like to spend a few minutes with the student understanding what success means to them today and in the future. And I think when you understand what success means for the student, you'll know what the focus of the workshop will be today, and also how to keep them motivated in learning to code well into the future. Students come to these workshops with all sorts of different goals. Some of them, like the student in our example, is pretty keen on learning anything about coding, any fundamental concepts of coding. But other students know exactly which kind of application they want to build. Maybe they want to build an application like a wedding planning service, as we saw this morning. And you can help select a tutorial for that student that brings them closer to their goal. I also use this time to assess experience and understand which level of jargon I should be using. And I like to figure this out with the magic words, can you show me something cool that you worked on lately? And that question gives the student a moment to, they feel kind of chuffed because somebody that they look up to, the mentor, is genuinely interested in what they're building. And they love being asked to show their code. And don't we all like showing off something on GitHub? And while they're showing you what they've built, then you can see what success has meant for them in the past. And so learning to code is an incredibly humbling experience. It is difficult, especially for students that have not been at school for a little while. The student looks up to the mentor as an expert. And nobody wants to look stupid in front of an expert. So it's important that we create a safe learning environment so that the student feels comfortable asking those questions. The more questions they ask, then the more they will learn. And I like to preempt this fear of looking stupid or asking a silly question and being judged on it. Right? I like to preempt that right at the beginning of the workshop. I like to tell the student that there is no such thing as a stupid question. And I think if somebody wants to learn, if somebody genuinely wants to learn something new, it's not possible for that question to be stupid. But you might find that later in the workshop, that student might start a question with, Donna, I know this is a really dumb question, but, and it will happen, and that's totally great, because that's what really nice, polite people do. And there are a lot of very nice and polite people at these workshops. Take that as a cue, take that as an opportunity to reiterate to the student that there is no such thing as a stupid question. We can also create a safe learning environment with our behavior, not only the words that we say. So before every workshop, I tell myself to be incredibly excited, like over the top excited. And I say that because, please don't take it the wrong way, we always look more tired than we think we do. And especially if you're going to one of these coding workshops after a very busy day at work, sorry, but you've got to, when you try to be incredibly excited, the rest of the world, and including your student, will think that, yeah, she was quite excited. So try to pump yourself up before heading into the workshop. In the past, I've had a very good friend of mine tell me that, Donna, you look a little bit tired. And I really did not take that very well. I was offended and I was indignant. And I was like, how dare you call me tired? I'm not tired, you're tired. And but the truth was, I was really tired that day. And so please, when I say be incredibly excited, I mean that in the nicest possible way. And I have certainly been victim of that myself. And when you are excited, the student feels more comfortable asking those questions because it seems like you're genuinely interested in what they have to say, right? Instead of being like a really tired person after a long day of work. And something else we could do is to be incredibly patient. And again, please don't take it the wrong way, but we're always less patient than we think we are. And we're always more arrogant than we think we are. We're more condescending than we think we are. And we're more dismissive than we think we are. And I'm really sorry to say that. Students do pick up on those small little signs, even if we don't mean to project that. And that can really, that can make the student feel uncomfortable asking questions. And I think we've all experienced at some point in our lives somebody that was impatient, perhaps in the classroom, and we know how that made us feel. It wasn't a great feeling. And that's something, again, I remind myself before every workshop is to be incredibly patient. The student, I like to assume that they are incredibly intelligent, and they're really hardworking because they're coming to this workshop after, they've been to work, and they want to learn something new. And even the smartest person in this world needs a little bit of time to understand a completely new concept. So give them that time, give them that space, they will understand. So now we're coming to the end of our little workshop scenario, and our student is feeling a little bit tired. There's been a lot of work done throughout this tutorial. They learned what a variable is. They learned the difference between print and return, and they've even written their first ever if statement. And now they're feeling pretty tired and pretty keen to go home. And this is the perfect time now to boost them back up and to leave them with a sense of achievement. And when we leave them with that sense of achievement at the end of the workshop, the student will be more likely to continue learning to code. When I'm wrapping up the workshop, I like to ask the student a question with a little secret agenda. I like to be very specific and ask the student, can you tell me what was one cool thing that you learned today? And I like to be really specific on this rather than asking the student, did you enjoy the workshop? Did you have fun today? Because when we ask these general questions, the student will usually reply, yes, I enjoyed the workshop, thank you. It was good. And that's because everybody comes to these workshops pretty nice and polite. And that's what they're going to say. But if you ask a more specific question, like asking them to name a thing that they enjoyed about today's workshop, this does a couple of things. So this is my secret agenda. First of all, it gives the student a moment to actually think back, because they've covered a lot of content, and makes them think, yeah, actually, what was the thing I enjoyed most? So it gives them that moment to reflect on what they've learned today, and it makes them feel proud because somebody's genuinely asking them, somebody who they think is an expert is asking them, what did you like about today? And when the student has to name the thing that they enjoyed about today's workshop, they're more likely to retain that knowledge for the future. And also, they're more likely to remember that was why they enjoyed the workshop today, rather than the general feeling of it was a good workshop. So that's why I like to be really specific. And also, be really generous. You don't have to only rely on the student telling you what they enjoyed about today's workshop. You can also tell them what you thought was great. And I do not hold back in this part of the workshop. And for our student in our scenario, I mean, they were coding for the very first time in their lives. Yesterday, they had no idea what coding was. And today, they've learned some really core concepts that they're going to use every day from now on. So I'd be going absolutely over the top, telling them, you know, you built your own if statement, you did it all by yourself. How cool was that? Please don't hold back during this part of the workshop. And at the beginning of the workshop, we spent a few moments understanding what success meant for the student, both today and into the future. And you can link that, now that we're talking about the result of the workshop, you can link it back to their goals that they told you at the beginning of the workshop. So you can tell them how they're now closer to building their dream project, maybe which part of their dream project they're able to build now. So try and link it to their goals. And hopefully they'll return for another workshop. Okay, so how to be a brilliant mentor. Understand what success means so that you know how to direct the workshop and how to keep them motivated in the future. Adjust your language so that you can be understood. Create a safe learning environment so that students feel comfortable asking questions and so they learn more. And create a sense of achievement so that students feel motivated to continue learning to code. Now, some of you might be interested in becoming a mentor, and I mentioned CodeBar at the beginning of my talk. It is, if you're interested, and if you're in Sydney, we meet on the first Tuesday of every month. It's a workshop that's open to all languages and all levels. And CodeBar is also in many other cities around the world. If you're also interested in more language-specific workshops, there are great initiatives like Django Girls, which has already been spoken about today, and Rails Girls and Node Girls. So I invite you to look them up on the web. And you can also mentor a friend. There's probably somebody you know right now that is wondering what this coding thing is all about. You've probably already been asked, I imagine. And that was actually how I started to learn to code. In my old job, I asked my colleagues, my engineering colleagues, what they were building. And they said it was an application that was being built in this thing called Python. And they were using some other thing called Django. And I had no idea what those things were at the time. And I asked those colleagues if there was a book or something I could maybe read about this Python thing. And they suggested Learn Python the Hard Way, which, if you haven't read it, is a beginner's book with explanations and exercises that test your knowledge. And I was hooked immediately when I read that book. And I would wake up really early every day before going to work to read another chapter, to do some more exercises. And I fell in love with programming, and I fell in love with programming with that book. And I'm really grateful to my colleagues for always encouraging me and for keeping me motivated. They always gave me the next challenge, the next puzzle that I could be working on to improve. And they had so much patience for me. I had so many questions and I bombarded them all the time. And I still remember the day I asked them what the difference between print and return was. So coding started off as a hobby for me. It very quickly became an obsession, and I'm really proud to say that I'm now a software engineer. And I think we've all felt the power of mentoring. We've all had really great mentors in our lives, and now is the time to do the same for somebody else. So you could help somebody get started with coding for the very first time. You could help them get better at coding, and maybe you'll help somebody fall in love with coding, and they'll go all the way and they'll change their lives, just like my mentors did for me. So mentoring is powerful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna. We do have some time for questions. If anybody has a question, please put your hand up.
Hi, thanks. Good night. Very good talk.
Thank you.
What strategies have you got for, like, it's all well and good to say no question's a dumb question, but every student, from my experience, will react differently to that. Some take a while to build up the courage to ask a question. Have you got any strategies to kind of break that, make it easier for them to get over that hurdle?
I agree with you that some students maybe need a little more time to feel comfortable. And I think trying to attack it from a couple of different angles. So, like, for example, when I asked the student at the beginning of the workshop to show them what they've built before, you know, I'm trying to show an interest in them as a person and what the code they've written in the past. But also during that little interview session at the very beginning, I try to find out, like, maybe some other common area I have with the student. Like, maybe we both really love Nintendo or something, and building a working relationship that way as well. But I understand that some people are just need a little bit more time, and I don't take that as a personal, like, I did something wrong, or, like, you know, some people just need time. But yeah, we could try our best. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your talk. At PyCon Adelaide, we often get a lot of people come in who haven't done any coding before. You know, we're not explicitly, like your workshops, there to teach people to code. But, you know, we're very open to doing that. But often people come in without a project or without something. Are there resources around that you would recommend for us to give them, like the Learn Python the Hard Way? Are there others as well? Because I've given that one to people in the past, and the title alone has been intimidating for them.
Yeah, I do. I agree with your last point about, of course, that book. If you haven't read it before, it is written with a very distinctive style, which I mean, I enjoyed, but some people don't quite as much. But I'll say at CodeBar, we do have a lot of students that come simply wanting to learn to code. They don't know which language. They don't know exactly what they want to start on. They just want to start. So again, it comes down to just having that chat with them. Like, I might throw out a few ideas. Do you want to learn how to build your own website? Have something to show your friends? Do you want to see some, you know, so in your example, everybody's coming to a Python conference. So if you wanted to focus them on Python, there are a lot of Python introductory tutorials, and on CodeBar, I think some of the CodeBar community internationally has written some tried and tested tutorials. And these tutorials, I really like them because they are something that the student can finish off in their own time if the workshop was not long enough for them. And they have explanations followed on with exercises, and some of them even have little icons to say, your coach might want to show you, your mentor might want to show you something. So I can send you a link later. And I also find people do respond to different tutorials and books. So I like to, if something doesn't seem to work, move on and try a different tutorial maybe.
All right, I'm afraid that's time. So thank you again, Donna. And this is a gift from the organisers to say thank you. Your
Thank
very
you very
first
much.
PyCon AU mug. Thank you again.